they have to follow the directive of my soul. And apparently it's my soul's plan, for now anyway, at least, that I remain in this situation, which I would love to get out of personality. So that could change, and I believe at many deep levels it is changing. But I see the healing that I've received in from these different activities, and I know what it's done for me, and I've seen what they've done for my friends. If you want to know more about the location of the ascension chambers, and also the locations of the ones not on this physical earth, and for what is their particular benefit of particular chambers, then I very, very warmly recommend the books of Joshua David Stone, including a book which I have called Beyond Ascension. I also recommend the Telos books again, Telos 1, 2, and 3 of Aurelia Louise Jones, and also her book on the Seven Flames. In these books, there's described in great detail the 7 ascension chambers connected to the 7 sacred flames of this world and of the universe. Sacred flames, the 7 are blue and yellow and pink-red and white and green and gold and purple of Saint Germain. These 7 flames each have their own etheric ashrams, ascension seats, that we can go to and experience just by intention, by intending it. And so if you want to know more, those are good ways. Also, you could look them up on the internet, these places as well. I'd like to talk about perhaps the most important, powerful tool of all the tools that we've discussed, or maybe of any tool anywhere. I read it and understood it for the first time from Cryon's book 6 of Cryon, called Partnering with God. And in the very first chapter, it's an excerpt from a talk he gave called The Way Things Work. And that first chapter is called Sitting in the Chair. It's the first chapter because it's the basis to the whole ability to co-create with God, to partner with God. And the gist of the chapter, it's a metaphor. Cryon talks about sort of a man-woman being. He calls this person Woe, W-O. He calls him Woe because he's to symbolize that it's man and woman together. It's both. There's a man and then there's a woman, but the Woe represents W-O. He represents the wholeness, the merging, the completion. So I won't discuss the whole parable. I'll talk about the end of it. In the end of the parable, Woe is about to pass on. And he's about to leave this world, and his guides, his angels, before they take him to this place where we all go, called the Hall of Honor, where our guides and our angels and we ourselves will celebrate our last physical incarnation. Before they take him to the Hall of Honor, they take him to what they call his house. And this house of woes is filled with rooms that he never knew about. He never opened the doors to these rooms, and so never tapped into what was available in these rooms. The first room in the house of the life of woe, was the room of abundance, filled with physical treasures that he could have had if he knew the room existed, if he had been able to tap into that room and knew that at some level it all existed. But he didn't. He never opened the door. Then they took him to the room of white essence and white light, which is the room of inner peace. And the room of the peace of God, the room where worry cannot exist. But in his life, he didn't know about it, couldn't tap into it, never opened that door. Finally, they took him to the most important room, the room of gold. And this room is so sacred that he had to go into it and explore it himself. His guides could not come into it with him. It's so sacred, only he could go in. So he goes into this room of gold. He feels this wonderful love energy. At a certain point, he realizes that at a certain depth in the room, there's an amazing being. And he gets close, and he realizes there's this heavenly being sitting in something like a throne. And the radiations of love are so strong that it's even difficult to breathe. And he gets close to this golden angelic being in the golden chair, in the golden room. He falls on his knees because the love is so thick, so strong. He looks up into the face of this golden angelic being, a being with wings that reach from wall to wall. And he looks in the face and he sees it's his face. And he realizes that this is the room of his higher self, his true self. That part of him which was always with him and always is in him, that anointed piece of God in him, that higher self, that part of him that speaks of home, that speaks of contract, was him. And then he understands that this part of him was always, the room was always there for him. That the gold energy in the room is the essence, it's the energetic essence of our higher self. That gold energy is in every cell in our body. And he realized that this chair was always there for him to sit in. The room was there for him to sit in, to feel the love of spirit, of his higher self. In that incarnation, his last one, he didn't know. He didn't know about his higher self, his true self, or this room, which was his. Eventually he leaves the room, but he understands that the house is always there for him. And in his next incarnation, it will be there for him in all his incarnations, for him to discover or not. Eventually, of course, he will. So, here's the thing. This golden chair is ours in the golden room. I have one. You have one. I'm actually sitting in mine. Some aspect of me is sitting in that golden chair right now. It's giving me power, filling me. Anytime you need the love of God, the strength of God, anytime, even if you're in a place that seems diametrically opposed to a place of God, a place maybe of suffering, bodily suffering or any kind, that golden room is there, and there's an empty golden chair waiting for you to sit in it.